Okay, just go up, shoot the mics on. Hi. Um, uh, Shoot, sorry, I didn't mean to put that on there. Hi, as they said, my name is Abby Johnson, and my title is What's in a Name, and you probably heard it from Romeo and Juliet, and hearing me now, you probably assume that I don't really know what I'm talking about. Was that the real me? How would anyone know? Would you say that was a communication or translation error? You see, we often take our communication with others in an egocentric manner. People think it's all about the person sending the information, when really, it's a process. Receiving that information is just as important. But the problem is that this information is often received wrong. How many of you all are familiar with a new movie coming out called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile? Okay, I see a few hands up, but anyway, for those of you who don't know, it's a new film coming out based on the massacres committed by Ted Bundy. Expectations for this movie are pretty high, considering that Zac Efron is starring as Ted Bundy. But once the trailer came out, a great number of people actually were appalled. Not because of his crimes committed, but because this serial killer was not presented in the way that they wanted him to be. They were expecting their own version of evil. They were expecting a creepy man torturing girls with his evil laugh. They didn't like how he looked and acted human. But human is exactly the way he made himself out to be. He was able to deceive girls into trusting him by using his charm and good looks. And this worked for a very long time. And it's funny how by just mentioning his name, you can receive a mixed number of responses that don't even match up. It's so easy for us to leap from feelings to decisions. We make decisions based off of what we can simply see, and then we treat them as if they're facts. Now, this is a new subject. We've all heard the phrase, don't judge others if you don't want to be judged yourself, over and over again in our childhoods. So much so that everyone here has heard it. But we still do it all the time. This actually reminds me of a stupid mistake I made back at a camp this past summer. I have this friend, and one morning I noticed that she didn't come to breakfast. In fact, when I went looking for her, I found her in her room with her roommate. And it didn't look like they intended on joining anyone else at camp, let alone me. I was so mad that she was being exclusive with another girl that every time I would pass her, I would try my best not to look at her. But when I did, I would give her my best description of a death look possible. Because she needed to know that I was mad. Turns out they both had lice and they couldn't be around anyone else. Why is it that we jump to conclusions the second we get the opportunity? Was it always this complicated? Well, no, actually. In fact, we all started off with making definite and logical decisions. According to Piaget's theory on cognitive development, children start off with concrete thinking. Thinking and making decisions based only on logic, facts, and the physical world. In other words, children think in black and white. But once we start to mature, everything just becomes complicated. We start adding on our own emotions, feelings, opinions, and circumstances, and eventually leaving out the truth. We've all made our own personal filters that do nothing except put people in the box that fits. But in the end, all our efforts to make sense of the world won't really matter because the truth will never change, no matter how much we want it to. And this problem can even go beyond our own efforts with communicating with other people. For those of you who are not aware of this controversy, basically a video had gone viral earlier on this year of what seemed to be a group of students harassing a Native American protester. This led to these students receiving a large amount of hate from the media, which was all too quick. These responses were composed only of quick and emotional assumptions. And it was only after videos were released about the truth of this situation did people let themselves stop and think. And then their opinions changed. These problematic assumptions are also seen in political polarization. You see, there's only one truth for everything, but it's so hard to find it when two sides claim that they have the right side. And this makes people feel forced to pick the side that makes the most sense to them, even if it means it's not the right one. In the world of technology, the truth is hidden by the emotions created by the media. And these emotions just cloud our judgment, leaving only room for our own assumptions. It's really sad because these days, the internet is known for the place where people can express their own opinions. But this teaches them that they can take these opinions and post them as facts on the internet. This mindset is taken from the internet to the outside world, where it simply just doesn't belong. I've been blessed with the opportunity with visiting villages in South Asia, filled with people who are less fortunate than me. And this has given me a perspective that I will cherish forever. One instance during this time, I will never forget. After a long, hot day in the village, my family was dragged into one last home, and we were given a tiny little glass of Coke. And I remembered being so mad that I had to sit in that tiny little house, all because I thought that this family wanted the credit of having foreigners in their home. It was only after I reached my own home that I was told that this small little glass of Coke could have cost this family their lives. You see, they have never known the privilege of never having to worry about your next meal. And buying this small glass of Coke meant that they were giving it all up. They were spending money that they didn't even have, just so that their guests could be comfortable in their home. Because to them, it was an honor that their tiny little house could bring comfort to a group of strangers. I didn't even ask their name, let alone their story. So, when does this problem come to an end? We all know it's wrong, so why don't we just stop? Well, there actually isn't a real answer to that because we've all dug a hole that's just too deep to cover up. There's no solution that will have an immediate response. But there's always a place to start. I mean, isn't that all we can do? Find the problem before it causes any more cause. But there is an obstacle. We have to stop ignoring the problem itself and realize that we are the problem. And only then can we make this change. We can start by active listening, and this can go beyond its literal definition. The book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, suggests the idea that active listening is seeking to understand rather than to be understood. Think about the other side for a change. And this is actually very important when considering the people who actually have difficulties with expressing themselves. People with expressive language disorder and language processing disorder, they just need a little bit more time to express themselves. And I personally know this because people close to me struggle with this problem. And I can tend to forget to have patience with them, and not everything that I say can make sense either. One last thing we can do is explore our own filters and examine what we put into them. What are we listening to it? Why are we listening to it? But more than this, look further, because the rest of the world, believe it or not, outnumbers one individual. Remember, you're just one person, so your perspective is limited. Listen to the other voices because they're still out there and they still have a point of their own. What are they saying? Why are they saying it? Stop assuming that you're right and start having a dialogue instead. Because at the end of the day, everybody is just so busy excluding the fact that there's a right from wrong, when the problem really isn't the truth. Because everybody knows that they can't find it. So they just settle with what they feel is right for them. We need to start listening to the voices out there, because they're all calling out their own opinions, solutions, and problems, and everything that just comes in the middle. But we need to listen to them so that we can take the truth and separate it from what is being said by other people. But these aren't just voices. They're words spoken by me, by you, by Mark, by Andrew, by Sarah, by Kelly, by people with names. People whose names come with motives and personalities, which cannot be determined by one moment of assumption. So, what's in a name? Thank you.